Mewtwo and Homelander, two creations of science, both built to be the magnum opus of their respective species. But which of these home-brewed gods would come out on top in a battle? For our first category, we'll look at the raw strength of both contenders. While Mewtwo doesn't have any direct feats of physical strength, we can make a pretty good educated guess on how much Mewtwo can lift. Mewtwo has an attack stat of 110, 10 more than Machoke's attack of 100, and Machoke is known to be able to lift a dump truck with one hand. Now, I know base stats aren't the best way to power scale Pokemon, made a whole video on it, but at least with attack, I think it works. There's gotta be a lot of overlap between punching power and strength, but how much does a dump truck weigh? On average, an empty dump truck weighs between 25 to 35,000 pounds, and when full, they can weigh between 50 to 80,000 pounds. But how does Homelander compare? Luckily, Homelander's best strength feat is pretty comparable to Machoke. In the comics, Homelander throws a jet with one hand in his anger, and on average, a jet will weigh anywhere between 30 to 80,000 pounds. So Mewtwo and Homelander should be relatively equal in physical strength. Even if we lowball Mewtwo and highball Homelander, we need to consider Homie might have used a decent amount of force when throwing the jet. Meanwhile, as far as we see, Machoke can lift dump trucks pretty casually. So if you ask me, Mewtwo should at the very least equal Homelander, but that's only in terms of raw physical strength, and Mewtwo especially won't be fighting with just punches and kicks. So what if we swap this category from raw strength to destructive power? First, let's go over Homelander. His main mode of attacking is his heat vision, which is hot enough to slice through an airplane. Airplanes are made of aluminum, with a melting point of 12,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Homelander also has super screams, which can blow up people's eardrums, meaning his screams can reach at least 150 decibels. But spoiler for later, these won't impress Mewtwo all too much. Speaking of which, Mewtwo's powers make this a one-sided slaughter. While we're only discussing base Mewtwo versus Homelander, Mega Mewtwo Y can reduce a skyscraper to pieces with just a thought. Base Mewtwo's special attack is 80% that of Mega Mewtwo Y's. So base Mewtwo could destroy a skyscraper with what, a second thought? On top of that, Mewtwo created a storm with literally the wave of a hand. Allegedly, they can create a world-ending storm, but we never see it. Would it be one big storm that envelops the world, or a regular storm that would slowly but surely destroy civilization? But with my final point on Mewtwo's power, it may just be the former. Mewtwo consistently scales to Deoxys, who in turn scales to Rayquaza, and Rayquaza on multiple occasions has destroyed world-ending meteors, using Hyper Beam in Mystery Dungeon and ramming into one in Oras. And Mewtwo's special attack is actually slightly higher than Rayquaza's. So if Rayquaza's Hyper Beam could do that, what could Mewtwo's do? But now we'll compare their durability and endurance. Multiple times, Mewtwo has shown that they aren't some glass cannon. The most notable example of this is in the Adventures manga, where not only was Mewtwo impaled by Deoxys through the back, but they also took a point-blank Psycho Boost and got back up. Mostly. And remember, the Adventures manga is not shy of killing off Pokemon, so getting impaled like this and still trying to fight shows how tough they are, especially since, again, Deoxys roughly scales to Rayquaza. Mewtwo has also been seen in space, which we'll touch on more in a bit, but this means they can breathe in space and survive how cold it is. Next in Origins, Mewtwo battles not one, but two champion level teams, with Red's team even including an Articuno, and for most of that battle, Mewtwo was pretty heavily dominating. It was only with Mega Evolution that Mewtwo started taking damage. Next on Homelander's durability, it's honestly pretty up to debate. Supposedly, Homelander cannot be hurt by any of Earth's weapons. That might even include the big hitters like nukes. However, there's some evidence to the contrary. Vought put a hydrogen bomb on him until they thought they could trust him, implying they did think stuff like this could hurt him, at least growing up. And in the show, Homelander fought Queen Maeve and Soldier Boy, characters who are much weaker than him and nuclear weapons. And yet, he got a nosebleed from Queen Maeve and bruises from Soldier Boy. So it has put into question whether or not he could actually survive a nuke. Regardless, he is pretty durable. These other characters are still strong enough to destroy armored trucks. But unless we highball Homelander and make him nuke level, Mewtwo is just way more durable and can take way more punishment. But next, let's take a look at their speed stats. I said before that Mewtwo has been seen flying in space. To leave the atmosphere, you need to reach 25,000 miles per hour, which would put Mewtwo's top speed a little over Mach 32. We also see Mewtwo do this in Genesect and The Legend Awakened. Granted, Mewtwo did it while in their faster Mega Y form, who's so much faster than base Mewtwo that time almost stops for them. But hey, they also did it while carrying Genesect, who weighs 180 pounds. But to be fair, Mewtwo can teleport, so what if they just teleport to space? Well, Mewtwo's base speed is 130, over 1.6 times faster than Dragonite. Dragonite can famously circle the globe in less than a day, giving Dragonite a top speed of Mach 2. So being 1.6 times faster would make Mewtwo's low ball speed Mach 3.3. Impressive, but if we go with that, then Homelander might be faster. Homelander's best speed feat is avoiding a C4 explosion. C4s explode with a speed of 26,400 feet per second. To do that, Homelander would need to go 18,000 miles per hour, Mach 23.5, doing so as a C4 was detonated, giving him a fast reaction speed too. For comparison, the best reaction feat I saw for Mewtwo was in the manga, where they hit Speed Deoxys' core without hitting Red, who was a hostage. But we can do a funnier comparison if we use Mewtwo's low ball speed. According to Death Battle, Homelander can bust a nut at Mach 4.5. So if we lowball Mewtwo, Homie's release is faster than their top speed.
Well, good night, everybody.
Funny way to argue that Homelander is faster, but probably not accurate. You could certainly argue that Mewtwo just teleports into space, but I think it's way more likely that base Mewtwo can just fly into space, making Mewtwo's top speed Mach 32, making them 36% faster. After all, if a Magikarp can escape Earth's atmosphere, why can't Mewtwo? Second to last is Battle Tactics, who's more likely to outsmart the other. As you might expect of a Psychic type, Mewtwo is pretty dang smart. After all, their battle abilities have been raised to the ultimate level, so much so they tend to remain motionless to conserve energy for battle. For proof, according to Dex entries, Mewtwo's creation took years. At least 1 year with the timeline set by the Cinnabar diary entries. In the birth of Mewtwo, we see they weren't the only cloning attempt, but the other clones were not stable enough to survive. So it took a team of scientists years to make just one successful clone. And yet, when Mewtwo wanted to create their own army of clones, they recreated that same cloning technology in seemingly no time flat. But Mewtwo didn't just recreate it, Mewtwo perfected it. No need to start the clones as babies. Mewtwo was able to make dozens of battle-ready clones in mere minutes. Mewtwo also shows off these brains in the Adventures manga, creating hurricanes to prevent Red from catching them for a time, with that plan only failing thanks to Red's unpredictable strategies. And Mewtwo came up with a bunch of strategies for the Deoxys battle, such as using Deoxys grappling them as a chance to hit their core, or storing energy in the air to prevent Deoxys from using Recover. But could Homelander outsmart Mewtwo? Okay, to be fair, Homelander can be pretty clever when he needs to be. He's often able to manipulate a situation to get the results he wants, either by playing with someone's emotions, helped by the fact that he can sense their emotional state to an extent, or he'll just use the fact that everyone is either a fan or scared of him. But there's no way he'd be able to pull those stunts against Mewtwo. He's more likely to beat Omni-Man than he is outsmarting Mewtwo. For our last category, wild cards that may just flip this battle on its head. After all, sometimes it doesn't matter who has the higher stats. Sometimes one character might just have such a broken ability that you get stuff like Giorno Giovanna versus Goku or Satoru Gojo versus Goku. And in this debate, one of the characters does have multiple OP abilities. The problem is that it's Mewtwo, who already had the higher stats. And Mewtwo can further increase those stats as seen in Let's Go. But even without that, let's look at the moves Mewtwo's canonically used. Mewtwo can throw Homelander around like a ragdoll with Psychic, recover 50% of their maximum HP with Recover, land more critical hits with Psycho Cut, possibly freeze Homelander's Solid with Blizzard, power their special attacks by lowering Homelander's special defense with Shadow Ball, or just straight up confuse Homelander with Confusion. There's other moves Mewtwo has used in their in-game encounters, but I think you're starting to get the idea. Now, for the sake of argument, let's say Homelander had the higher stats. Allow me to list off all the tools Mewtwo has to play with. We already discussed how Mewtwo can teleport around, so Mewtwo can do that while using Swift, which never misses. And from what we see, Mewtwo has some innate teleportation powers, being able to use it without actually knowing the move, Teleport. Even if you argue that Homelander is physically stronger, Mewtwo can double their defenses with Barrier and Amnesia, and with Disable, Mewtwo can turn off one of Homelander's abilities. Heck, you could argue that Mewtwo could fully turn off Homie's powers. In the first movie, they prevented every Pokemon there from using moves. That includes the army of original Pokemon and Mewtwo's clone army. Then they continued fighting Mew while keeping the army's moves off. Finally, all the ways Mewtwo can win without a single attack being thrown. Mewtwo can simply mind control Homelander, erase Homie's memories of how to use his powers or even of who he is, or teleport Homelander to the vacuum of space. And Homelander has shown no ability to resist psychic powers like that. But okay, what about Homelander's abilities? As said earlier, Homelander has Heat Vision and Super Screams. His heat vision gets to 1200 degrees Fahrenheit and his screams are 150 decibels. But would these actually affect Mewtwo? Well, Mewtwo can easily take fire attacks from various fire types. That includes Camerupt, whose magma can reach 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Even if you argue that it would significantly cool down when launched, Pyroar's fire attacks are definitively stated to exceed 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Plus, Mewtwo could deflect the heat vision like Gyarados' Hyper Beam, and according to the Dex, Gyarados can destroy cities and even mountains. But maybe Homelander's 150 decibel scream would be more effective. Well, Mewtwo can easily take a Hyper Voice from Whismur. Whismur's cries are as loud as a jet engine, which can reach 140 decibels. So Homelander's Super Screams could still hurt Mewtwo, right? Well, considering that Whismur is the first of a 3 evolution line, with Mewtwo easily taking hits from the much louder Exploud, I'd place bets on Homelander barely managing to give Mewtwo a headache. Okay, but what other abilities does Homelander have? Well, he can sense how someone's feeling based on their heartbeat, so he'll know exactly how much Mewtwo wants to slap him around. He has X-ray vision. That probably helps in a fight, right? Okay, but Homelander does have one power that can destroy any opponent. Homelander can cuck Mewtwo. Oh wait, Mewtwo's asexual. Yeah, Homelander's cooked. And there you have it, folks. Why Mewtwo versus Homelander isn't even close. But what did you think about my conclusion? Did I miss something that would pull this in Homelander's favor? What other matchups would you like to see me cover? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe to join the Lopunny Appreciation Super Squad today. And become a member if you're interested. It's only $2 a month. Have a nice day, you wonderful people.
I'm perfect cell, motherfuckers! So Dende on f***ing Earth! You better recognize the crackle of my raw, sexual energy and line your 1990s asses up so I can...